Hey guys, and welcome to part 13 of Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver. In the last part, well, I'll be the first to admit that we did next to nothing, really. We were in one city and we had to get to the next city, and that's pretty much all that happened, I'll be honest. So, first thing you got to do in this part, as Satan mentioned to us in the last part, I kind of talked over that bit, but yeah, we have to come to this lighthouse first, because the gym leader isn't in. She's just not in. She's a gym leader, but she's hanging around having a grand old time in the lighthouse. Well, she's actually here because there's a sick Pokemon. Because apparently, light bulbs. Apparently, it's a lot more ethical. Ethical. Why am I saying that so weird? The ethics. Screw it. The ethics in this universe say that it's instead of having a light bulb at the top of a lighthouse, you know, tradition. The traditional way of doing it, it's perfectly okay to have a Pokemon live up there and work the night shift, shining a light down on sailors so sailors can come in that way. They really do treat Pokemon in a very strange fashion, the people of this world. I already talked about milk tanks in the last part, and now we have this Pokemon being forced to work, and it's not that Pokemon need jobs. If this was a world where Pokemon had jobs or needed jobs, then that would be fine, but no, it's just slave labor in a lighthouse. So yeah, so you have to go to the top of this lighthouse. It's the first thing you got to do, and it's pretty much a dungeon, because Pokemon games are still an RPG, and they actually still have dungeons like most traditional JRPGs. They're just in the form of a lighthouse or something like that, and you're just fighting off sailors and old men. That's not a good sentence to say, really. But one thing I really like about this game in particular is that it's definitely, in terms of structure, it's definitely the strongest. Even stronger than the first gen, because I've already talked about how I don't really like how in the more recent Pokemon games how they direct you to places, because every Pokemon game is pretty linear. Even this game is technically more linear than the first game, but they do it in such a way where you don't really notice and you still feel like you're exploring this region. Because here's the thing, in the first gen it was kind of a bit linear. Every single one is linear, by the way. But you did have some choice when you got to the 4th gym with Celadon and Saffron and Fuchsia City. You had a bit of choice there where you could go, and you felt like you were actually exploring a world because you could go to these different cities. You weren't limited to to be in one place at one time, although you did have to be in one place at one time to get past the game. And the third one was kind of was pretty restrictive. It didn't really, the region was pretty boring, if I was being honest. It did connect in a few interesting ways, but it wasn't really anything to write home about. I mean, I still really like the 3rd gen, but you know. And then the 4th gen, they tried to make it big and to make it non-linear, and it made it feel really linear, because like with Judd Life City, I think that's what it's called, at the beginning of the game, you have to go there like 4 times, but you're just passing through each time, and there's nothing really in particular to do in that city, and it just made the whole game feel a lot like really messy in terms of structure and where you had to go at what point. And it meant that because it was a big world and different places and they were connected in so many ways, that you had to be in a certain place at a certain time, but that meant that so many ways that you could or you would want to explore are blocked off. And then the 5th gen, they just completely gave up. I don't really mind, and you start off in one place and then you go into the circle of cities and then you just go round the circle, and that's the game. In both generations they did that, and you just go round you go into the circle and then round it in terms of structure. But this game did it right. It's pretty linear. Overall, you have to be in certain places at certain times, but you can still explore at your own pace, and you can still do what you want at certain times. Which I really like. Actually, in general, I really like linear games. I don't know why people use the word linear as a negative thing. It's really not. It can be a negative thing, but it can also be a positive thing. But in this game, in the Pokemon universe, you're exploring a whole world, a whole different region, so you don't want it to feel that linear. You want it to feel like you are exploring and seeing all the different Pokemons and becoming the master and seeing everything that the game has. And this one does it just right, because technically, You don't have to. You don't have to come to this lighthouse if you don't want to. Of course, ultimately you do. But if you didn't want to go to it now, you could just be like, oh, I don't want to go to the lighthouse, and just go somewhere else. I mean, as you saw in the last part, if we wanted, we could go to Mount Mortar, because by beating the 4th gym and going to the getting HM Surf, we can go through Mount Mortar if we really wanted. Now, there is something in that place or something along that way that does block you, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but you can go and explore that whole side of that city because you have a choice. You can go left or right, and they don't immediately block you from going left or right if you really want to, which I really like. It's really cool. And then you can go around here to this place, and then there's a lighthouse to explore, and it's just, I just really like the structure of this game. It's definitely the best. It's they did a really great job considering this was on like the Game Boy, the original Game Boy. It's just really impressive, you know. So yeah, this one is just the better structure, and it's a shame that they need to kind of go back to it, because this one is, it's smartly enough designed so it doesn't need a ton of people standing in the way saying, oh, don't go over there, oh, why don't you go and challenge the gym or talk to your mother, and oh, that would be a good idea. Okay, technically at the beginning of this game they do make you go talk to your mum when you don't really need to, or out of nowhere, but still the rest of the game is done well, because it starts off quite straight where you go, and then it opens up a bit more, and then with Sudowoodo it connects back to Violet City, and then you can go left or right from the next city, and then it's great. This is definitely the best region in terms of design. I don't know, and Sinnoh is definitely the worst in terms of design, and one of the main reasons I don't like the 4th generation, or I think it's the worst. I still enjoyed Pokemon Pearl, but that's one of the main reasons I think it's the worst. But either way, we're still in this place. Yeah, it's a big old grind, this whole area. It's still nice to see all these new cities and all that, but pretty much you're just going to be fighting off trainers. And this is the lighthouse, which is pretty interesting. They actually changed the puzzle in this place. The puzzle in the original one was that there were holes in the floor, and you had to fall through certain holes in the floor at the right time, so you would climb up, fall through the right hole, so then you could get actually to the top. It wasn't straight up, go up the ladders and go, you know, to the place. And here they kind of took away the puzzle. There really is no puzzle apart from you have to look at a certain point in the wall and realise that you can actually walk outside of the lighthouse and go around like that. Which again is great, and something that I think is really cool, because again, this is on the DS. There's a lot they can do with the DS. The DS can handle 3D graphics now, and even if their main graphics aren't in 3D to try and keep with the old games, they can definitely still do other stuff with 3D, like the lighthouse, because this game is definitely, it is really good. And here's something I think is cool. Of course, you would think that I would hate this and think it's stupid, but at certain points in the game, I believe we already missed the first one, but there's photographers, or yeah, people with cameras who will take pictures of you and your squad, and then I think if you go onto your personal PC in a poker center, you can view all the pictures. And you know what, it's kind of dumb, but I think it's cool. I think it's nice. It's a nice little feature. It's one of those things where it's quick, it's simple, and it is kind of nice. And that's all you want from a new feature in a Pokemon game. It's simple. It's boom. You know, I was walking along, and then this guy's like, "Hey, how about picture?" And you're like, "Okay." And then there we go. That's it. You've done. And then you get to the end of the game, and you realise you have 5 or 6 of these pictures. And then because it shows you and your whole squad. Because once again, something that this game is trying to do, I think is trying to do, is have it so it's you and your Pokemon go on an adventure, which is something they've always tried to do, but this one they actually decided to focus on that by having the things like the picture and by having your Pokemon actually follow you. And I think that's one of the reasons why people would say that these games are the best Pokemon games, because they have a really, this region is really well designed. There's so much to this game, and there's just so many nice little touches in this place. So yeah, so that's Jasmine, and she's whining like boo-hoo, the poor Pokemon, boo-hoo, I don't know. Yeah, the Pokemon's ill, and apparently it's up to you, not some sort of I don't know, medical profession, some sort of vet. I don't know if there's a special word for a Pokemon doctor. Nurse Joy, get Nurse Joy in here, because really this should be go to the Pokemon Center, talk to Nurse Joy, have her come up and be like, yep, I can put this Pokemon in a ball, I have a machine, you can put, you know, I'll fix it, it'll be right as rain, you know, because, you know, anything that happens to my Pokemon, I just go to the Pokemon Center and it heals in like 2 seconds, it's great. So this is kind of some confusing editing. You probably would have noticed that Hawkins turned into Mega Dude, which then turned into Hawkins again, because pretty much I edit out Pokemon Center visits because they're literally all the same. Just go talk to the Nurse Joy, get your Pokemon, and that's it. But the emulator, I was having such problems with this. I thought I wouldn't be able to get any further in this game because of the problems I was having. So after a lot of time trying to wrestle with the emulator, I had to do some, like, you know, edits to make it so you don't see any of that. So yeah, so that's why he Mega Dude turned into Hawkins, because it was actually a different time playing it, but you didn't miss out on anything. There was nothing that you missed out on. And also, in case you saw it, there's a tunnel at the top. Guess what's in the tunnel? The Battle Frontier. I'm never going to go there. I'm just not going to go there. In case anyone wants to know what it is, you just fight a load of trainers, you don't get any XP for it, and then you get some pretty useless items. So yeah, I'm not going there. I don't think it was in the original, I don't believe it was. I think they just added them in because, of course, the Battle Frontier is such a big hit in the Pokemon universe. Although I think out of all the new features they've added since the 3rd gen, the Battle Frontier is the one that people actually attempt, which is why it's been in every single game since. Well, maybe not attempt, but it's the least hated. I mean, I still hate it. I think it's a massive waste of time. I like the idea of a big tower of trainers, but I don't need to prove my ability. Like, it's specifically about, can you use your Pokemon in a strategic way to beat it? And it's purely about that, and I'm just like, I don't care. I'd rather earn some XP, train up Pokemon and do the gyms than waste my time with the city Battle Frontier. See, I was talking earlier before about structure and how the game, or this game, doesn't stop you. And, or it stops you it does stop you at certain points, but in a lot cleverer ways. Because pretty much, after taking on Sudowoodo, you could go straight from Sudowoodo, try and skip as many trainers as you can, and you can go all the way to this city and go up to the sea. Nobody comes up to you and stops you. There's no person there that just says, "Hey, how? Oh, I hear there's some legendary dogs in the burnt tower. I don't know, maybe you should go check it out." There's no one that does that. It doesn't happen. Never happens. Or it does happen a couple of times. So you could go all the way up to the sea, but the reason why you couldn't surf on the sea is because you need the 4th gym badge. So that's the way it all comes together, and it's a lot better than just, it's not as intrusive, because you feel like there's a sense of, you can still explore the place and see many different things and all that. And fight trainers that may be a bit too tough for you, but that's up to you. That's your decision to do that. And then when you get to an area that you can't progress in, then it's like, okay, so how do I progress? How do I get across the sea? And then you go back and like, okay, I can, once I need to find the Surf HM. So then you start exploring for the Surf HM, and then you find it. Then you're like, okay, I can't use it there. Then you take on the gym. So you can really come up with your own, if you're not specifically going for the gyms, you can just explore the place and do it that way and get your own kind of sense of progression, which is just completely gone in the later gens. Like, even the first gym kind of even the first game had that. When you got to Lavender Town past the rock cave, it was like, right, there's this weird fat prick in the way. How do I get him out the way? He's asleep. Okay, I'll do some exploration. Okay, I'll go to the top of the ghost tower. Right, there's not that much to do here. Or there is a ghost, but I can't see the ghost. Okay, I'll do a bit more exploring, see what I can do. That's the way Pokemon games should be structured. That's how they should do them, and that's how the 1st and 2nd gen does them. Like, even the 5th gen is just like, go take on the gym, go to the next place, try and go on, you can't go on, you have to do the gym. It's just really, like, I didn't mind it in the 5th gen, but the 4th, well, particularly the 4th gen, was such a weird mix of the this first gen and making it linear, it was just a complete mess. I don't know. And I will promise that in later parts I will not say the word structure ever again. Well, I'll try and promise that, because I've kind of been talking a lot about this game's structure for a while. But it's really good. I mean, there's just so much to see and do. It's a really good game. I do really like it. That's why I'm LPing it. And that whirlpool, don't worry about it. So next time in Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver, now that we're almost at Cinnawood, I swear to God. Now that we have reached Cinnawood City, we will do some stuff here. So I've been Awesome23, and I'll see you next time.